Hi, let's talk about Lenormand. Okay, Lenormand cars is 36 cars compared to 78 cars out of the tarot. Okay, tarot is simply an abstract or kind of interpretation of abstract, and in the abstract point in which a card can mean anything, to different people. But when it comes to the Lenormand, every every card means something. It got some action. It got some meaning, some purpose, and it goes and this divide, in different aspects. I want to show you something. I know it's in Spanish, but just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, we put it there here. Okay, this is a Letterman card, the writer in perspective, the number one, and it divides in four categories. It will be numbers. It will be numbers. It will be the insert, which is this little card over here, usually a naipers or regular cards. The subject, which in this case will be the writer, and the name of the card. They're always posing the card. Now this one's divided in different subcategories. Okay, the numbers could go from 1 to 36. The naipes, is the inserts that are in these cards. Now the subject divides in about 5 categories more. This could be the personality or individual. It could be related to space. It can be related to flora, fauna, or just certain structure. For you to see this in this way, we're talking about a person or subject in this case, cards that inclines about space and altitude. The flora, any cards that have to be with flowers. Fauna, we got a few cards that had to do with animals. Structure, we got a couple cards that had to do with a structure. And then object, like in this case, with the book, it represents what we're talking about. Now the name, as you see there, that's what identifies each one of these cards in perspective. Okay. Now when we come to Lenormand, the main thing in here is for you to understand that this is not a oracle for you to read in it with intuition. No, this oracle was meant to be to read it as a combination interpretation due to combination, and then after that coming into a conclusion. In other words, you use the meanings of the cards, and after using the meanings of the cards, you combine those meanings, creating sentences, and that those sentences at the end either answer the question of the querent, or simply adding more information of what the querent wants to know. Before we go into that subject, I want to show you what we were talking before about the cards, because I kind of jump in here. So when we comes to people in the cards, this is a four cards that means individuals. So we got the man, the woman, the writer, and the child. There's the only cards that represents individuals in here. Okay, then we got a space cards in here. We have to be the sun, the clouds, the moon, and the stars. So these are high altitude objects that have to do with ambitions and also aspirations of the querent. The same as we would see it, looking up. Then continue with the flora cards in here. We got the treble, the club. We got the book, the flowers, the lilies, and the garden. So all these ones are the only ones have to do with the flora. Meanwhile, the fauna, we got quite a few here. Got the serpent, the fox, the bear, the dog, the birds, the fishes, the rats, and the stork in here. Then the structures, as you see in here, we got the house, the tower, the mountain, the ship, and the rows or the crossroads. Objects, you see quite a bit in here. We got the scythe, the whip, the ring, the book, the card, the key, the heart, the cross, the anchor, and the coffin in this case. Okay, so when we're talking about combining cards, okay, the combination had to be between two cards. In this space here, we got 1 and 2 combination of two cards, and that means this the first cards that you focus, let's see number 1, with the card number 2, you have to describe it, okay? So let's look at an example in here for you to understand what I mean by this type of combination. In here, as you see, we got card number 28, which is the man, and then we got card number 9, which is the flowers. The man is the subject card or the individual card. It had to do with just a male, you know, what kind of male it is. That's when we describe with the flowers. The flowers, it could be happiness, it could be friendly, it could be surprise, mostly traditionally speaking. The flowers had to do with invitations, had to do with going out, invitations, gift, incel. So what we can say about this man, we can say that this is a given guy with the flowers, or we can say this is a very surprising guy, or also with the flowers, it's talking about beauty, so we can say that this man is very good looking as well. If we would have used the sun instead, a positive card as this one, we can say that this is a very optimistic guy due to the sun card. With the bear in this case, which is a finance card in here, we could say that this man is a man of authority, man of the protective, man that is in charge of something big that has to do with money, okay? We also can say that this man can be overweight if we're going to describe it with the card of the bear. If we put it with the book, in this case, well, this is a very studious man or very intellectual man, or a man that likes to investigate. We can say immediately this is an investigator in this thing. So you see, the concept of the cards is that you use one card, you focus on one card, and then you focus the other one as a description. But this not only goes from left to right, it also goes from right to left. So in this case, I can say this book, we're talking about information about what? Information that comes from a man. Then we will have this sample here. We can say information. There's some information, hidden information. What kind of hidden information we're talking about? It could be related to finance. Okay? Is that this is authority figure and is finance? So we're talking about what kind of finance are we talking about? Well, there's an investigation related to it. Since the book is about search, investigation, hidden information, anything that is occult. So this is something that we have to describe with the next card. Now, if we would have put a third card in here, then we continue this side of of system. We focus, we describe. We focus, we describe. Finance being investigated by who? By a man. You see what I mean? I create a sentence there. There's some finance being investigated by a man. So in other words, you focus, you describe. You focus, you describe. If I would have done it backwards, I would say there's a man investigating finance. Finance investigating a man. You see what I mean? I'm going backwards with the meanings on this matter. Okay? Same thing that you see in 3 cards as well. Combination of 3 cards. You focus number 1, describe with number 2. You focus number 2, you describe with number 3. So in other words, the Lenormand is that if you know this system in combining all these cards, you will see that you will get either concepts or sentence, full sentence out of it. There's another sample in here. Now we got 5 cards in here. So let's put my sample here. And see, if you see it, it's the same thing concept. You focus, you could do the number 1 as a focus and then combine and continue like that. That's the system of combinations. But you also can use card number 1 and 2 for a concept of the past, then 2 and 3 and 4 for a concept of the present, and then 4 and 5 as a concept of the future. Let me see if I got something else in here. No, that's another concept. So let's look at this in reference to the cards, okay? Now we got 5 cards in here. Same system. We're going to go just combining instead of doing the other system. Combining, we say there's some finance being investigated by a man, okay? By a man in a very optimistic way that might be bringing surprises. So you see, this is a literal reading in which I use each one of those keywords of these cards just to create a sentence. So I just went in that matter. It's a finance investigating by a man in various domestic ways that might be bring surprises. So you see, I create the sentence, putting the articles inside of the words or keywords in there. That's what they call a literal reading or interpretation of the cards. Now, if I were to go with this card being past, this card being present, and this being future, it might be changed the dynamic of this interpretation. Okay, so we will see in the past that there were some financial investigations. In time present, is here this investigation by a man were kind of, were optimistic or were with aspirations to a higher dividend in there. In the future is very positive surprises in reference to this matter. So if it would be a reading about finances or be a reading about money or work, so the outcome will be very positive. But you see, combining the 5 cards, I can use this one for past, these 3 for present, and these 2 for future. Why I'm doing it this way? Because the Lenormand is about combining cards. 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. So you have to combine cards in order to make sentence. You cannot read it by himself. Okay? This thing about reading a card by himself, it can work as a way of energy. What's the energy of today? But not to make a sentence. In order to make a sentence with Lenormand cards, you have to combine the cards in one way or another. Okay? So at this moment, we saw the combination with 2 cards, combination with 3 cards, combination with 5 cards. Now let's see this formatting here, which is the 9 cards. We call it 3x3, or the box reading in this case. So as you see in here, I cannot make it a clockwise. They got number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I fill the places with 6, 7, 8, 9. There's certain people that throw the cards, consequent or one after another. I don't suggest doing that because life itself doesn't go in order. Okay, life itself change with free will and our actions. Therefore, put it in different aspects instead of putting it in sequence. It will be better. Now, when it comes to this type of reading, and let me put this card in here to show you this description. So you can understand, this type of reading. The box reading, it could be a very complete reading, okay, in which the first column can be considered past, the center column can be considered present, and the third column can be future. Either or on these combinations, you have to combine cards. So therefore, you combine it within 3 cards to talk about that subject. Let's see if I got something else in here. The same cost in here, we're going to talk about this one per se. So let's look at this example here. So we got the 3x3 reading in here, or they call it box reading, okay? We got the man. Now, usually when I do a reading, and it's reference to a person, I want to identify what type of person is, okay? So there's a couple ways you can do this. Since we combining cards, combining the subject with 1 card to describe him, so we can say here, this is a man that is well established financially. This is a man that might be good looking. This is a man that is very secure in his own comfort with himself. It could be a proprietary of some property. This is a man that is very optimistic, okay? This is a man that likes to take decisions, which is a row cards. It's about split options or decisions. This is a man that could have a very deep Christian or a spiritual connection. Also, this is a man that can be very manipulated or be very assertive, okay? This card also then being negative, it can be being assertive, it could be also being intelligent. But in depending on the cards and the size, it can magnify whether it's a positive or negative. In this case, it could be very, very negative for this man in reference to the fact that it's the card of the manipulation. We also can say that this man is very intellectual, or he like to be well reading, okay, in this case. So you see what I did, I went clockwise, describing what type of man is. And I usually do this type of reading to connect with the subject. If I'm reading for a male, I will say this, okay, this is this and that. It's like a tuning myself to be prior to give him a reading. And in most cases, I asking, is this apply to you? Is this really resonate with you? So when he says yes, I know that I connected to this man, so therefore I'm going to make a reading. So we're looking at the column of the past in here. This what it means in here, if we're talking in general purpose, okay, we will say that this man might be has some problems or some manipulation and investigation in reference to his finance. In other words, his finances are not too clear in the past, and this could be done by somebody that be manipulating information or being manipulating his identification in reference to his finance. So we can talk about here somebody being hacked or somebody being having some problems in reference to identity or identifies some kind of finances. Everything is out of whack in here with these three cards. In present time, since we combining cards in here, we can also say, you know, there's some suffering, surprising suffering for this man. So you see I'm combining. So surprising suffering for who? For this man. Well, I can say in here in the present time, this man is thinking about ways to invite or invest. Meanwhile, he got under control the fact that he's suffering his struggles. Because also in a Lenormand, where the card is in top, the card in the bottom is the, you know, the being submissive card, meanwhile the top is being the dominant card. So there's some kind of weight in the cards, you know, from top to bottom. We will say here that this can be the thinking, but meanwhile this was under control. What he got under control, he got his convictions, his religious convictions, and his struggles, he got them under control. But meanwhile, he's thinking about inviting, about stay happy, you know, despite everything. So, I mean, now we got in here a whole picture. It's being struggle with financing and hidden money in here. In the meantime, he control his suffering, and also, you know, he's trying to stay optimistic or being happy about it. So it's representing something, you know, that he don't want nobody to know. Present time. Future time. Now we have to see some kind of resolution that comes from the past and present, and we have to disclose it in the future. So in here, we're talking about a house, a property. It looks that is very optimistic, giving an auction. Okay, so giving auctions in the future. The card of the rose or crossroads is a split. It's giving auctions in which the suffering that it was before can be something else, depending on cards in here. And you can read it from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top. In here, I can see something very positive possible for the property or anything that belongs to the man, and we give him options in a positive way to come out of this situation. So you see, a reading in this matter, it has to be questions that doesn't require yes or no. It has to be questions that require more information, okay? I cannot do a reading this type when you ask me, hey, am I going to find a job? Too many cards, number one. It requires a yes or no, and this card is for talking more, okay? So if I were asking a question that matter, that require a yes or no answer, I would use 3 cards. But if I want to know more deeply about a certain situation, let's see that this man asked me, you know, I want to know what's my financial future, or how am I going to evolve in my finance. This would be a perfect reading for this person because we can relate it to it. So you see, and that could be with love, that could be with finance, that could be with labor, that could be with family. It doesn't matter what's the subject, as long as we know how to create that question that is not require a yes or no answer, we can use this type of reading. Okay, so this is what I call it a 3x3, in which, you know, it's called a box reading. And this one later on, you're going to see it in the grand tableau, which is using the 36 cards. Okay, now there's some other formats, and these other formats is what we call it the cross. the cross reading, okay? The cross reading in here, again, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, okay? And usually in this type of reading, card 2, 1, and 4 is present time, okay? It's what's going on right now. Card 3 is the thinking. Card 5 is what's on the control, all right? And you can combine 3, 2, and 5 as a past. Meanwhile, you can combine 3, 4, and 5 as a future. So then again, we got this reading again in which what? In present time. In present time, the man is searching for some, happy ending in here. Man, searching, man, for happy ending. That's what he's doing in present time, okay? These cards in the center can be also present time. Or in this case, we're going to turn it into, into thinking and under control. So meanwhile, he's searching for some better times. This man is showing himself as a very given, very optimistic. Meanwhile, he got under control his suffering and his struggles, okay? So it still can do a reading in this way. Present time, thinking, control, okay? I can use 3 of these cards to combine the past and say, hey, there was some digging in the past, some surprising digging in the past that creates some struggles for this man. In the future, I can say, hey, there's some surprises, very positive, that might be the fate of this man, because the thing with the cross is also about fate, something that it meant to be in this case. So, I'm telling about future in this case. So you see, there's a lot of ways to do this type of readings in which you can go in from different formats, okay? Now, the grand tableau, for other instances, when we got a 9x4. Okay, mostly people use the 8x4. Let me see if I got the sample of that. This is what they call it, 8x4, okay? In which the last 4 cards are using as a final advice. But I usually use this one in particular because it gives me better, more managed to describe time. Now, the box reading that I showed you before, which is a 3x3, if you notice, you can take 9 cards in here and create a box, okay? In the center, you can talk about the subject, use a significator card and talk about the subject, and then using the rest to describe that subject. It doesn't have to be male or female. It could be cards that represent the labor, could represent love, it can create health issues, and we use the cards to describe it all around. So the 9x4, what they call a grand tableau, it can have different boxes and different situations in here. Usually when, and then again, you don't ask questions that yes or no to use 36 cards. That's completely useless. It's just too much card for just a yes or no answer. For a yes or no answer, you have to go with at least a minimum of 3 cards, okay? A 3x3, a grand tableau, 9x4 in this case, is what they call it an annual reading, in which you can see up to 6 years in an aspect of grand tableau. So it's useless to answer a question yes or no when you can have a more broad aspect to answer a reading. The Lenormand, I tell you, it could be easy, it could be difficult. It all depends in reference to you. Okay, now let's look at this to recap what we've been doing. Now, if you see here, this is the positions of the card. We got past, present, number 2 present, and future will be number 3. This is the most common interpretation, okay, in which they use keywords to represent a past, present, and future. This is the most basic one, and honestly, it makes the Lenormand to go in single card when it's supposed to be combined. Okay, now what I said before, focus on the first one, describe in the second one. It could be backwards. You could focus in number 2, describe with number 1. This is a combination of 2 cards, okay? And 3 cards. You can use 1 and 2 to create past, okay? Then use the 3 cards to create present, and also, like here, you could use the 3 cards to create the present reading, and then using the last two to create the future. So that's how much you can do with 3 cards. A lot of people think, oh, it's only 3 cards. I need more to clarify. No, you got everything you need when you do 3 cards reading. Okay. Now, literally reading, like I expressed before, is when you use the meaning of each card, and then you add some articles like they, we, birds, that you can add in order to create that sentence. So it's like you gluing meanings, one by one, in creating a sentence. And there's certain books that they make the structure of the sentence in which one card can be the verb, which it would be an action card. One card can be the subject, and one card would be the what you want to call it, the action itself. To give you an example of that, okay. Let me see. Let me give you some example of that. Between bird and sentence. If I were about to create a sentence, let's put it this way. I got a subject, man, okay? The birds in here, change, which is distorted, means about changes and movement, okay? What kind of movement we were talking about? We're talking about movement or maybe travel, okay? So if I want to make a sentence out of here, I got the subject, I got the verb, and I got the action, okay? So in other words, the man is changing travel. See, the man's changing travel, or the man is fixing to change the travel overseas, with the ship in here. So when we talk about sentence, some people think, okay, you use one card as a subject, one card as a verb, and one card as the predicate, or which one, or what's the follow up of this sentence. That's a nice way to look at it, but don't complicate your life with it, okay? Because there will be times, there will be cards in here that they got nothing to do with movement to create a verb or create a predicate out of that sentence, and there will be cards in here that it might be blockage everything else, and you cannot create this scenario of creating a complete structure of a sentence. So to explain, yes, a sentence composed of that, a subject, a verb, an action, or disclose of the action afterward. But when it comes to the Lenormand, you have to keep it as simple as stupid, okay? To continue the trajectory of what it is, because it's a logical, fluent language in which it combines meanings to create sentences. So don't complicate yourself with what is the subject, what is the card that could be the verb, what is the card that can be the adjective, what's the card that can be the predicate, or what's going on in there. Because sometimes you are not going to find it in that order, or either not going to find any of them, and you will have to do what? You have to combine regardless of that. So those are ways to explain of the structure of the sentence, but not necessarily is the system itself of the Lenormand. It's just explaining what it would be like if we create a sentence, which cards would be what. You see what I mean? So when we talk about in literal lecture or interpretation, remember, we're going to take the meaning keyword of each word, and we're going to add some articles or conjunctions to create that sentence, okay, with the meanings in there. Okay, now when I say before about reading the 5 cards, we use 1 and 2 as a past. We can use 2, 3, and 4 as a present, and we can create 4 and 5 as a future. If you notice, we combine cards all the time. Okay, let me see what else I got in here. The same thing with literature, literal interpretation. You take each keyword of each word, and then you create a sentence. And all depends on the question as well. This is what we call literal interpretation, in which it goes in a flow from left to right to make that sentence. Okay, it's your job to make the conjunctions and the articles in between so you can create that sentence. This is the most common, way to flow with the cards and it goes straight to the point, because that's what the Lenormand is. It's an oracle that goes straight to the point. Like I showed before, column first is past, column second in the center is present, and then the last one is future. Okay, and we're doing some kind of recapping here. Now, the same with the 3x3. We can use the center cards line as a present, the top ones as a future, and the bottom one as a past. This is another way to read the box reading of the 3x3, okay, in which you're given these denominations to it. Same thing it goes, with the thinking of the situation, present time in the center cards in here, and how was the feeling. So in this occasion, we turn the bottom cards 5, 8, and 4 as a feeling of the situation, and 2, 6, and 3 with that is about the thinking or the thoughts of the situation. Meanwhile, talking about the present. So you start from the present. You say, hey, this is the thinking about it, and this is the feeling about it. In which you combine 3 cards and literal interpretation to talk about that. Okay. Another way. This is another format of reading. 9, 1, and 7, present time. But 2, 6, and 3 is what is out of control of the situation. Meanwhile, 5, 8, and 4 is what's under control. So in other words, in here, we're looking at situation and present time. We see what is out of your hands in the top cards and what you already accomplished or you got under control in the bottom cards in here. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 5 cards of the cross reading in here, same thing. You can do past, starting from card number 2 and combine it with 3 and 5, create a past sentence in that matter. You can read top to bottom and present, okay? And you can start with the number 4, combine it with 3 and 5 to create a future reading in here in reference to a question, okay? Same thing, it goes with doing just backwards, either out of control with the number 3, under control on the number 5, the thinking with number 3, and the feeling with the number 5 in here. But the same token, when you're talking about thinking and feelings in this side, remember you have to combine cards. So you're going to create that feeling with card number 5 to 2, 5 number 4, okay, or the thinking from 3 to 2, or the 3 to 4. The same thing with out of control situations. You combine 3 to 2 in this side here in the sample number 1, or 3 to 4. That would be situations things that are out of your control. Meanwhile, what is under control, the main one would be the 5, but it's combining with 2 and 4. It can give more information on what is under control. Okay. Now, when we're talking about codificates the cards, okay, the cards, the Lenormand cards, honestly, it have, and I know this is Spanish, but I'm translating for you. The cards itself, guess its traditional meaning, but it comes times that you might have to codify your cards in a different meanings to accommodate to a certain subject, okay? And I do have done this in geopolitics and catastrophes, or either something had to do with sport or prediction. In health, I had to be recodificate the cards away from the traditional meaning to accommodate to that matter. It's still taken off from the base of the tradition and related to it, but it had to be a different word. Okay, why is that? What is the convenience of this? First of all, you increase the connection with your cards. Second, you can increase your ability of visualization. Then you can create significant, how could I say, very personalized meanings. You can develop your intuition and your creativity through the recodification of the cards. You can increase the precision in your readings, and also it can facilitate the adaptation or a coexistence with different subjects or themes. Okay, so that's the benefits of it, and I just translate this that I got in here. Now, the art of codificating a card, you can depart from this meaning. You can depart from the appearance of the card, the behavior of the card, also the empathy. What it make you feel this card, and also what's the first impression you got due to intuition. So you can use this 5 type of approach to the card to create different meanings and different subjects other than the traditional one. Okay, so I mean the bear, honestly, in the German Lenormand, because mostly the Lenormand was created in Germany, not in France. They took the Madame Lenormand from France to attribute these cars using her fame, but she never did this car. She never created these subjects in the card. She was using mostly knives to do readings, in which she got similar meanings to this. And it wasn't until 75 years after her death that they did a commercial stunt to create certain gain of cards attributed to the famous Figueroa of France, Madame Lenormand. Okay, but if you look for the Lenormand, is mostly created in the German folklore or with the German view, because the Germans, they liked a lot of tale creating, or what they call it, a fabula or fable created writing. So they're very expressive in that matter, creating the stories. So the bear, in this case, and depending whether it's German or French, it can be done with finance, somebody of authority, somebody overprotective. But it depends. In France and itself, it had to do with that. But when you move into Germany, the bear had to do with the finance and abundance. So you see the difference in change depending on language, perception, country, regions, because of this. Now, if you're reading the Lenormand in a place that never existed a bear, okay, like Puerto Rico, the bear we can consider as somebody of authority. Okay, if it goes to a place that never seen a bear or anything like that, it can be something else depending on the region. So we have to have this clear when we codify the cards, of what exactly is your perception with the card. So remember this, in codificating the cards, you have to take advantage of the meaning, the appearance, the behavior, what make you feel, the empathy out of it, and what is the first impressions you get out of the card to create it on that theme. So if I want to choose the theme of both health, finance, labor, love, I have to go through this type of codifications in order to adapt the card to those subjects, okay? Because not everything, if we're talking about love, not everything with the bear is overprotective or guarding, okay? Not everything is abundance. Not everything is overweight. See, those things that we cannot approach it to the love side in there. So we have to be careful what words we codify the cards with. Let me see, this that I'm giving you is part of a class that I did in Spanish. Okay. Now this is a sample of the card, the ship. Okay. Number 3, in reference to codification that we mentioned about meaning, appearance, behavior, empathy, intuition. So the key words that come out of there, you see the meaning is travel. The appearance is movement, because it's movement. The behavior is something progressive with the ship, because it goes in movement. What I'm feeling out of the ship is simply to be exploring. Okay, so already creating that word. And my intuition, as first sight that I see this card, is to be traveling. Okay, so in other words, I end up with 5 key words in here. I end up with travel, movement, progress, exploration, and traveling. The word of traveling in this case. So I end up with 5 different codification words based on what? Based on the meaning, the appearance, the behavior, the empathy that made me feel, and the intuition, first impression that I get out of the card. You can do this with every card you have, one by one, to create your own language other than the basics. And don't get me wrong, it's good to understand the basics of the card, but also to understand that all the time is going to help you if you don't know how to don't know how to adapt the Lenormand to those subjects. Okay, let me see if I can find something else in here. Okay, now when it comes to questions, okay, questions with the Lenormand, you got and about 5 types of questions with the Lenormand. I'm going to try to show you here. The main reason or the main thing with the Lenormand is to make a concrete, solid question. That's the number one. Number two is what we call it an open question. Number three is the ambiguous question. The other one would be a closed question, and then we got the time question. Okay, and let me see if I can give you my notes in here. Hold on. So to tell you, okay, to tell you about the classification itself, okay? When we talk about a concrete question, okay, this one is it's going to describe, you know, what you want to know, leaving a little margin for interpretation. You know, this is type of questions that are direct and specific. A concrete question could be, will my financial situation will improve in the next 6 months? See, that's something that we're asking in a form, you know, in a concrete way. We're asking for our situation an improvement, looking for improvement in the next 6 months. So it's got a kind of combination of timing question in here. This type of question is going to propose to you, you know, uh, that you become in a very clear way to give the answer to straight to the point when you're asking in that way. Now, an ambiguous question in this matter is it doesn't specify clearly what you want to know, you know, allowing to become with multiple interpretations. These type of questions are the very vague in general, like tell me what's going to be my future. Am I going to you know, to win the lottery? You know, am I going to die? Yes, tomorrow. You see, these are ambiguous questions that really it's too general. There's no specific subject in here that really can be answered in this matter. You know, giving a difficulty to interpret it in the most how you say, in the most useful and specific way, in which you can create more confusion and lack of clarity. Okay, now open questions, okay, is the one that allow you to give more details and complete answers. A example of that is what should I do over my, you know, what should I do about my actual relationship? So in that, with that word, you know, that question, you open to go to a specifics of a relationship, and also more to use the card as an advice for that person to tell them, you know, what that person should do in reference to his actual relationship. This type of question, it could be good for a 5 draw card or a 9 cards and a 3 by 3 box reading in there, and it would be a lot better to answer that type of question. Now, in questions that are closed questions in there, it doesn't it's the kind of question that it gives you specifics to yes or no, but it can limit the profound, you know, the how deep it could be the lecture. Example that is, am I going to find the job that I want? That's a close question. Am I going to find the job that I want? If you look at that question, it might require like a yes or no answer, you know. And now when it comes to time questions, and this one is when I'm going to, you know, meet my soulmate. See, now it's asking for a timing thing, which with the Lenormand, you can answer that with the timing thing. So, but, you know, depending on how you use the cards, it can show you, you know, a limited time or just something that goes more, you know, more in depth of what it is. Okay. Now, when you formulate questions, you have to understand that you have to look for something specific, something that positive, and something that is realistic as well. So let me see. Now, when it comes to, you know, to interpretation, we talk about abstract interpretation. When I call about abstract, I think when you go to the museum, you look at painting, you can see, Picasso, and I say, oh, Picasso was kind of crazy, and the other person, oh, magnific Picasso, look at that, these lines, he means his struggle and everything. So you see, I'm talking about the abstract way, depending on who's perceiving the card. So that's that type of interpretation that is very typical of oracle cards and very typical of tarot card, but it doesn't apply to the Lenormand. Now, the literal interpretation, that does apply to the Lenormand, and also combining the aspect of the Lenormand, literal, and also combining our types of interpretation that apply to the Lenormand. Okay. Now, to be more effective in questions, you can give a question that is or interpretation actually into questions, one that is contemplative, or how you say complete, contemplative. I'm sorry, contemplative. Some you can go into interpretation too deep into the psychology or the contextual actual case, or you can do a prediction with the Lenormand. But the thing is in here that you have to understand that the Lenormand, you have to adapt it to different things. Okay. Now, why most people can connect with the cards? Okay. One, it could be the main question. The question is wrong formulated, and that can throw you entire reading to crap. Okay. Also, you can use a string little, symbolics, because people like to dig into the cards like they do the tarot. If you do this to the Lenormand, you're just wasting time, to keep it simple, stupid, like I said before. Okay. And also, the lack of to understand comprehension of the meanings, that can also be reasons why you don't connect with your cards. Okay. Another thing is that your expectations are very little realistic about it. The anxiety, the lack of confidence in yourself, also, not knowing yourself also can be a reason why you don't connect with any card, not just Lenormand. And also, common errors in formulating either the cards or the interpret or the draw of the cards. Okay. So at this point, I think I mentioned pretty much everything in reference to the readings, and how that works. I mean, I gave it a class a couple months ago in reference to this. I mean, we can talk more about it. Oh yeah, let me show you one more technique in here. There's a technique in the Lenormand that calls a mirror reading. Okay, the mirror reading explain, that you combine one card, you omit the one in the middle, and you combine it with number 3. So you see a mirror number 1 with number 3. What it means, this is like you got your cards in there and you twist it, to combine it, like, hey, hello, hey, I am here. You see what I mean? So they call it the mirror reading. Now, or reflection reading, or interpretation in this case. So you can do it from left to right, or you can do it from right to left, like in this space. In the case of 5 cards, you see we got that we omitted 3 cards in the middle to go to the strings. But the same way we can do it in this way. We can go 1, omitting 2, combine it with 3. We can focus on 3, omitting 4, combine it with 5. You see, 3 and 5, 1 and 2. We can do it in present time, just omitting those cards. The same thing we can do with the center. We're omitting everything else, but the 2 and 4, we combine it or mirror with each other. So you see, this type of readings add more caviar to your type of interpretation. Just remember this in reference to what we talk about Lenormand. This is I try to make it as short, but I mean, this is the most concentrated Lenormand class I can give you in reference to uses of the Lenormand. If you keep it simple, stupid, you got it made. Okay? Don't try to complicate yourself with it. Just remember, combination is the key. Focus and describe with the next card, just like we talked before, in which you focus on one card, you describe with the other one. You focus on one card, you describe with the other ones. You can combine between these 3 cards in here. You can combine between, you can mirror each other card in here, okay, and omitting this one. giving more information. Okay, the positions are very important as well, but the trick in here with the Lenormand is combining focus, describe, focus, describe, and you can do it backwards again. You combine by that technique: focus, describe, focus, describe. Okay, and that will be more easy for you than trying to internalize the factor of a subject, a verb, an adjective, a predicate of the sentence. Well, come on, don't complicate yourself your life with that. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do you answer a question yes or no? Okay. There's three systems in which I've been seeing using in reference to the cars. The first system, they use the inserts. Okay, the inserts, the nippers. What is it with the nippers? You got red hearts, red diamonds. Then you got red cloth and red treble, right? And that matters. So if you got too many reds, it means yes. If you got too many blacks, you know what I mean, like a space in clubs, it's no. I'll say, in other words, they divided by color. You know, how many you got red, how many you got, you got a black. And I always use 3 cards because it would give me, it would zero down to something specific. Let's say if I got 2 red in here, you see, I got 2 hearts. This means yes, but I only have 1 club in here, 1 spade in here. That's no. So the answer predominant in here will be yes, because I got 2 nippers that are red color more than 1. So it's 2 to 1 in here. The answer will be yes. Okay. The other option, so you can do with inserts, the other option is the polarities of the cards. You see, each one of these cards, they divided between positive, neutral, or negative energy out of it. I mean, there are ways to identify this. So imagine if you got 3 cards that are positive. You see, in this guy, we got 2 cards that are, 1 card is a positive, 1 is neutral, and 1 is neutral. So 2 neutral and a positive, it could be more giving you a maybe, instead of yes or no. You see what I'm talking about? Now, they use that technique, but honestly, the polarities of the card, what they call the positive, negative, or middle point in here, is to create the tone. How do you express yourself? Not necessarily to answer questions, but a lot of people using it. Okay, the problem I have with those 2 systems, in which using the inserts or using the polarity, is like playing the Russian roulette. You don't know what bullet it's going to take, and if you throw it out there to see if it falls or not. You see what I mean? That it's a guessing. It's a guessing versus interpretation. The third way to answer yes or no is that you combine the cards either literal way or in combination, and then from the interpretation you get out of there, you deducted if this person is going to be in, yes or no. Imagine in this question in here, I ask, hey, is my flight for going to Miami is going to be good? Well, I see in here, some positive changes, positive card, positive changes in reference to a vacation or trip, the thing in here. So by saying that, I'm affirming that, yes, you're going to have a good trip. Okay? Because this is what? Those 2 cards in here are movements and transportation. This is flight transportation, ground, and ship transportation. Okay? So it's depending on the interpretation that I do to the cards, I can deduct the yes or no or maybe. I suggest that if you're going to answer a question yes or no, use 3 cards, keep it simple, make interpretation, little interpretation, or combine, deduct from your findings whether it's a yes or no, instead of relying on polarities or relying on the inserts. Because the other 2 options, the inserts and polarity, it's like playing Russian roulette. And honestly, you want to be as certain things as you can instead of playing to be a divination, And we're not going with the guessing. We're going with the interpretation in this matter. Okay? So, I hope already almost an hour here. That's an hour of concentrate Lenormand class. And honestly, we can say a lot about the Lenormand and learn a lot from the Lenormand himself. But I hope, honestly, that this will help you to understand the basics of the Lenormand. And always remember this: keep it simple, stupid. Go straight to the point. Less is more. Okay, less is more. And with the Lenormand, we don't read cards that fall out of the deck, and we don't and we don't use significator cards out of the line of the letters, of the lecture. In other words, in the tarot you put a card to show you as a focus, and then you talk with the rest. No, no, no. In the Lenormand, you have to put that card within the reading to be part of the reading. So this is not falling out cards. This is not a significator or focus card out of the line of cards in here. This is just going from one side to another, left to right combinations. Okay, so try not to apply the tarot to Lenormand. And believe me, as if you're so many years doing the tarot, you're gonna try to force the Lenormand to be something that is not. So try to keep the Lenormand to his own system, but while you're keeping tarot to his own system. Try to split and try to learn something, because the Lenormand honestly is a new language compared to the tarot. It's a combination system. It's not an abstract or intuitive system. You have to combine to create sentence, and those sentences have to be in a very fluent and logic manner. Okay, so in other words, it's a rational thinking cards. Now the intuition, yes, you can add the intuition as a partnership with these cards, but it's not the priority of these cards. That you read it with intuition. If that we read it with intuition, might as well don't use the cards. Use your intuition and done with it. But the system is simple. The system is to combine and then interpret. Okay, so I hope it helped you. Let me know if you like it. We will talk soon. Take care. Ciao.